We are live. Just letting Zoom finish its little dance over here in the right screen. We've got the beautiful smiling Anya this afternoon.
We switched.
We switched. Yep. Beautiful smiling Anya this afternoon. Let's get rid of that, but it's working. I'm just going to make sure I can see it while we're driving here. And away we go. Yes, it shows we're live. Happy day. I'm not as smiling as I normally am. It's been a day of hell, but I survived. I'm here. Fuck, I don't want to be spiritual anymore. If this is what it means to be spiritual, to fucking tear your heart out and lay it on the ground and jump up and down on it once in a while. Yeah, I'm kind of in shock. Spent the last probably hour and a half screaming and yelling and crying in bed about some things that happened in my life, which is part of being spiritual, I guess, and trying to find your self-love directly. I had some more interactions with my mother this morning. We did a beautiful act of love for her yesterday. My son and I, we drove to our trailer and got it all set up for the summer and made a choice that we're not going to go there. She can go there and be safe from COVID and all this kind of stuff and get away. And she apparently was so happy about that yesterday. And thank you. And just kind of at the end of the text saying thank you, said, can we not just get back to the old way and just forget all this stuff happened? And this morning I responded and I said, I can't. I seen it. It's God showed me all the stuff that happened, and I can't just pretend that our family was all special and golden and it was all great, because we had lots of bumps, just like everybody else's family has lots of bumps. And I guess I was just asking for some acknowledgement that there was lots of bumps in our family and shit happened and it impacted their children, which is me, and it's going into my children. Just being really understanding about it and saying, I understand and this is all good and I take my responsibility for my piece. But when I told her that, she came back and it's like all of a sudden, sell the trailer and you got to move it all off. We're selling everything, kind of like just this energy that I didn't expect, and saying, you're driving me crazy and stop. And I phoned and it went right down the sewer from there. She couldn't hear me saying that I didn't blame, I didn't anything. I kept saying that. I'd say everything, and somehow it always turned into that she was bad. And I saw all the codependence from every time it would always be just like zap my heart and tell me that I was hurting her or something. And there was no intention to hurt at all. It was just to get to the bottom of it. And we got to a checkmate point. It was just like, I can't do anything to change this or make it better or whatever. Just talking seems to hurt. So I had to step away. And it's okay. It got to the checkmate point that the love that I was looking for my whole entire life wasn't going to come or be admitted in a way that I could receive it. So I had to stop asking for that love, and I'll love myself from this point onwards, because lots of hurtful things came out every time I tried to feel that love. And I can't change that. I can't fix that. I can't do anything about it. I made some choices not to heal my mother or do anything to improve that situation, because that's what families teach that you're supposed to do. And I had to step back and call it mourning. I'm not feeling really happy about that choice, but there was no other choice. And to get acknowledgement for what happened in your life and how it hurt, and acknowledgement that maybe the wounds of your parents carried on to you and you're propagating them. That's the hardest part about being a spiritual person, is that lots of shit happens to us to learn. And we got to take self-responsibility and say, okay, I own my piece. But the hardest part for me was to be able to say that I chose those things, because I didn't choose all those things. I chose my parents and who they were and what they were and all that kind of stuff. The rest was just programmed in while I was a child, and I didn't even have any choice. So I didn't choose to have all these beliefs or these shames and guilts and all this kind of stuff that came as being a family. And then they act on you for your entire life. And one day you're going to come to this spiritual place and you're going to have to forgive all of that kind of stuff. You're going to have to walk away. There's going to be no payback. You're not special because you were raped or something happened. I'm not saying that I was in my life, but those things that are really, really, really hurtful that we sat with for our whole entire life may not be recognized by the rest of the world, may not be recognized by your parents, may not be recognized by the perpetrators or even your spouses. And that's the spiritual path we can't choose. We just came, we got our piece out of it, and then you have to kind of let the rest just be water under the bridge, is my findings after a lot of struggle. And I'm not going to struggle anymore. So
Awesome.
I love all the people involved. This is not about hurting anybody. I love myself more now. And I will not play those weird games that families play where the truth isn't really talked about and the hurt thing isn't really talked about. It's all about something else. And then you're trying to poke at this thing that nobody talks about because it's just easier for everybody and it makes them feel safe or comfortable or not bad. But we can't awaken unless we become aware of those things so that we can make a better choice, because now we have all the facts. So that's the hardest spiritual lesson I've ever learned, as I just summed up in what happened today. It smashed me wide open and smeared me all over the road. But and I was literally unloading a load of compost. So I was shoveling shit as I was doing all this stuff. It was the weirdest metaphor the universe has ever. I was going through the shit to sort all this stuff out, and I was shoveling it onto the lawn so the grass will be green. So
Wow, that is so bold. 'Cause there's a few people in our community that have done that, where they just cut off family members because they refuse to play in that the game.
and I realized that to continue to talk, we'll play the game.
Yes.
And I can't change the game or the fact that they use the game or they're stuck in the game. So all I can do is protect me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even protecting. It's just like, once I saw that I didn't need that love in that way, I saw the only place it could come from was here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, it only took me 50 years to figure that out. Yay! Wee! Who's cheering me on?
But some people never figure it out, and some people can't even extrapolate themselves out of the game. So
Exactly. It's a big thing.
you're a pioneer.
It
Exactly.
doesn't feel like I got a crown or any special
Oh,
awards.
you don't. No, we don't get no crowns, but you know,
I survived.
the angels see it. You know, the universe takes note.
This will feed me in every relationship as I move forward in the most divine ways. But to see how it played out and to see the number of people that are under the exact same situation in the world, because I see it in almost everyone. It's so crazy. They don't even realize what's going on. There's darkness working through everyone from our wound and other stuff. And the darkness has so corrupted the word love, way love is, all this kind of stuff, that we're all blindly just hurting and not knowing why. It's crazy, but it's in the light now and it's not going to fuck with me anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Oof. Sometimes you just things aren't always like permanent. Like things will come back around.
Oh, once this wound is healed in me, then the energies will shift and then some other stuff will happen. And I have absolutely no control over it, no steering of it, or I have choice in the matter. I'd love for things to improve, but I can't hold on to that, or else there's attachment and then I can be hurt again. And no, I have to be good with whatever shows up. It's okay. I am. So
But you also mentioned like your dad was kind of just coaching her, so it wasn't even like a genuine.
Well, I think he was supporting her and defending her from the side, so she had the strength or
But
whatever.
she couldn't even speak from herself. Like that wasn't even her genuine
Well,
thing.
she's chosen to have him protect her, which is what a husband and wife do or whatever, and that was that role playing out. It's okay. I didn't feel ganged up on or whatever. It just felt really surreal.
Yeah.
It's all good. I love them both dearly, like so huge, and I don't see them as bad in any way, shape, or form. They are doing the best that they possibly can, and this is like so out of left field and so confusing because it's higher vibration of looking at the darkness that maybe they can't even see it. It's just
No,
the
they can't. They can't.
so
Um,
no blame.
it's just I feel I've accepted what we're here, that what we're doing. It's just still like such lunacy when I try to explain it to the rational side of me or even a former version of me. Like
Mm.
this is what it is.
Yeah, I hear
It,
you.
it makes no sense at all.
It only makes sense when you understand or be aware that you are learning,
Yeah,
and that's the only context that makes any sense. And you have to turn off the learning after the lesson, otherwise that old energy will just eat you alive.
keep going. Yeah, feeding.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, and you just got to hold space for all of it.
mm-hmm. Breathe and let the energies go,
Yes.
and end the timelines as quickly as you can, because those are the things that'll just keep nipping at your ass afterwards.
Well, aren't the timelines like really increased right now? Like just like we're like constantly accelerating timelines.
Well, there's the timelines are shifting. I think
Yeah.
there's a 5D timeline that's kind of forking off, and people are choosing. There's a 3D timeline, and then there's like the death spiral timeline that are still out there that I've seen. And everybody's got a multifaceted version of that, but it's either you're completely in the dark and the world's falling apart and you're going to be the slaves or whatever. There's one that's got Trump and all the
The white
forces in the
hats.
middle,
Ah!
exactly, that's gonna carry a 3D version of the timeline for a time until people can cross over to the 5D. But the divine timeline is a 5D ascended world. And there'll be, I've heard numbers like 25 years where there'll be that opportunity to make the choice, but people can't just jump from 3 to 5D overnight. It would destroy them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So either it's all versions of it, and this is part of my timeline and cleaning it up. And if we understand our family wounds are probably our biggest, like 80% of the thing that holds us back.
Hmm. Give me
Pretty
your
important.
top three family wounds, if you can.
Well, the top three family wounds.
Yeah.
Narcissism is a huge one. It's underneath most families because people won't acknowledge that they've been hurt in the past, and everybody's just codependently walking around trying to be happy, but they're sucking each other's energy all over the place and using these really weird things to make themselves okay enough to live, literally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, it was quite funny. I my sister was in a narcissistic marriage, but I've seen it now in this last little while, and it's exactly the opposite of what it was said to be. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to see it. But so that's a family wound. Um, yeah, just hiding things, keeping things secret, like don't air our dirty laundry. Our family was perfect,
Mm-hmm.
etc. I would have went and said I had a perfect childhood, but I now can see all this stuff. It's like crazy things that they didn't even think was bad. But at 10 years old, I was going to Weight Watchers with my mother because I was deemed fat. And I was this young boy with all these fat women at Weight Watchers and feeling this collective shame. We didn't talk about that because my mother wanted somebody to go with her or whatever. My dad screaming at me as a child about vegetables. You could say that that's that's a dad trying to help his son be healthy and safe or whatever, but screaming and getting to the point you're going to get spanked and sitting in trauma for 3 hours at the kitchen table crying because you didn't want to eat your peas and carrots because you didn't like it. There's other energies playing out in that, and I don't know what they were. We've never had a chance to even talk about it, but that much anger and that much frustration projected at you for 10 years of your life makes you small.
Yeah.
Nobody outside heard it or saw it or whatever. We didn't talk about it. So it was these hidden things that were coming from our grandparents onto our parents or whatever, that just, this is how you get love. This is how you get whatever, which was disguised as something good, but it was really in some ways traumatic.
So it's like narcissism, weight, like the overweight thing, and I guess the third one could be like shame.
Well, shame and getting traumatized in this supposedly loving way. It's like, okay, I'm loving you because you need your vegetables and you just don't know any better. Well, I to this day do not enjoy eating vegetables. It hasn't killed me. It doesn't make me unhealthy or whatever. It's just a thing that was believed to be good. But it left wounds in me. A person couldn't raise their voice around me, or I'd immediately go into this cowering little child.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a good thing. I'm sure my dad would listen to this and just be horrified that I'm talking about it. But if I don't talk about it, how do I get free of it? That's the crazy of this codependence. It's like, stop. We're not going to talk about this thing because I need to stay hooked into you in this way, because if you don't, I might die because I won't have enough energy to live. That's the energy of codependence that's always there. And it's like, shut up, don't talk about that. It's not good. But is there really any dirty laundry when this is happening all over the world and everybody's having some version of it from their past? It's got to be talked about. Otherwise, it just, that darkness continues to propagate and it keeps sucking at you all the time. And you don't even know why it's sucking at you or where you feel bad all the time. Who wins? Darkness wins. The peace that's inside. It's not even the people playing it out. It's just like this darkness is collectively just eating everybody by keeping them unhappy. And we're all confused. We don't know. It's in the shadow. So what's darkness going to do? It's going to scream and yell, and it's going to have tantrums and tell you to stop through the people that you love. It's not even the person that you love in a lot of cases. It's just don't know any better, and the fear is gripping at them that somehow they're losing you and all this kind of stuff. It's so inverted, we don't even know what's happening.
Yeah. It's kind of scary because it's like you love the soul of the person, like the essence, but they don't even see what they're wrapped in, but you do.
And then you add the label of mother or father or family or
brother, sister, whatever.
All of a sudden, it's like, shut up and don't rock the boat. Because this is what a sister is supposed to be to a brother. This is what a sister or a daughter is supposed to be to a mom. And then it plays out. I can tell you some crazy shit from my parents' anniversary, which was a year and a half ago. And all the energies that we're pushing, you could just see it. And it was just like insanity. My son won't talk to my sister ever again because of some of the pressure she put on the kids of the family so that her kids looked like they were loving grandpa and grandma more, but well, forcing boys to do a speech in front of a whole bunch of people with no preparation the day before or whatever. He's just like, fuck this. At the anniversary, but everybody thought it was so sweet because the girls did it, or I don't think it's a boy thing. But the expectation and the shame and guilt that they didn't do it or whatever, so that she didn't look bad that she was pressuring, or it was just. Anyways, I may lose my family by stating and putting some of this stuff out in the open, but there's been no opportunity to even say it, so I'm loving myself at this point. So. What about you? Do you know some family wounds of yours? Because I think we all have them.
Yeah. Codependency for sure.
And what is codependency in your definition? Just I didn't never described it earlier. So
Codependency for me is like me having to be responsible for someone else's reaction and then me trying to change that person's reaction, and nothing will be okay. I won't feel okay until I help change this other person's reaction, and like I'm responsible for it. But
including making yourself bad, even though you said something very
yeah,
normal.
yes,
It's just like,
yes.
oh, I'm so sorry. I won't do it again.
Yes, exactly that feeling. So,
Mhm.
and I didn't know that it was so deeply run, but codependency, um, there's a really big line of overreaction in my family, both sides, my dad or my mom's side.
Mhm.
Like if something wasn't perfect, my dad would freak out and deem it a failure. Like he could make a dish and it still be good. But he's like, I failed at this dish, and it's like a disaster. It's like a big deal. Or like on my mother's side, she reacts like with her tone. She'll like yell over the fucking laundry or like over some little fucking thing. And so I think that overreaction over these little trivial things runs deep in my family, and I've been blocked like releasing that.
And so where do you think the overreaction is? Is it specifically about you, or is it something that's not even related that's venting in that moment?
It's not about me, it's whatever is that moment.
The energy from some past event is still boiling inside of them, and they're using these things as a pressure release valve because they're just a small poke. And I think we can all say that. It's like, oh, the kids didn't clean out the sink, or the nobody did the laundry, or whatever. And you just get really angry for no reason, but it was all the reasons before that are
Yeah.
now bubbling.
Yeah, it's just, it's like just that radio switch that you're on, and so like, it'll always go back to that switch
Mhm,
and you'll broadcast that station.
mhm,
Oh my god. Third, I think it has to do with like immigrant immigrant perception, like
mhm,
money related. Like you got to work really hard.
mhm,
Money doesn't grow on trees
mhm.
type thing.
And the
Like
immigrant
smallness.
is like a sticky note, right? It's like immigrant. And then
Yeah.
it has this whole list of struggle and work hard and got to get up from the
Yeah.
bottom and make some money finally, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause my parents are Russian, and they grew up in the communist thing, and my whole family line is Russian. So like it's
Mhm.
just carrying that tragedy and history of the Russian culture.
Yeah.
And
Tragedy, nice word.
yeah, it is. That's such a dark history. And then my dad is Jewish, so like him living in Russia, like the Jews had no opportunity. So
Mm,
it's like all of that.
mhm, mhm. So there's another label, Jewish, and go where World War II and all that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
anti-Semitism. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't even know. It's like just like even like a dysfunction between my parents. Like my mom will just put my dad down. She'll be like, "You're so smart, but you're so lazy. Like, what are you doing?" Like
Oh
crazy
wow.
shit. Like it gets crazier than that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But is a lot of that, do you feel, replaying of the same pressures that were put on them as from their parents? And
Of
it's just
course,
this
yeah.
codependent level of redoing the
Hurt.
same stuff and you don't even know why.
It's the same hurt, like I see how mean my mom is to my dad, but it's the same meanness that he got from his parents. She's just the new role.
So he'll eventually make a choice eventually for himself, but he never has.
Yeah.
So he got it from his parents, he got it from his from his
Yeah.
wife that he married. So eventually he'll make a choice.
Unfinished business. You marry
Yeah.
your unfinished business is what I've heard.
Mhm.
So,
And
like,
isn't that what's happening to you? You're getting an opportunity of getting those same things fed on you. Have you felt that before? And you're making a choice?
yeah. Could you be more specific?
Well, so I don't know if it's a male thing that the dad's not good enough, or whatever. Has he tried to feed that back? Maybe he can't put it into the female lineage, You don't have any brothers and sisters, I don't think, do you?
I have one older sister.
Yeah, oh yeah, your sister.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't play out because there's no more males to put the masculine line wound on. So you get it in a different way, or like overcorrection to the daughter.
I do get overcorrection.
Yeah.
I was raised very painfully to be a perfectionist. It's really bad.
So he's guaranteed you'll be good enough
Yes.
to
For his
overcorrected to help you, which you could also say is a codependence, and now it's
Yes.
hurt you.
Like, he'll still do it to this day, but now I just keep him in check because I didn't know what it was back then. I just thought it was normal. Like, I could reach for a particular butter because I wanted to, and he'll like helicopter and be like, why did you do this butter? You need to do this butter. And I'm like, fuck off. I wanted this goddamn butter. Like, what? How does it affect you? What I'm doing for this meal that I'm prepping for myself?
Yeah,
it gets crazy.
I do it too. It's like, why didn't you use the butter, the margarine bowl that's already open and whatever? You took the brand new one to my kids, and they're just like, what the fuck, Dad? It's butter. So, yep. Cool.
Yeah.
So, in the end, all of these things have an element of love to them. And the love has been twisted, perverted, whatever, by how that love was given by their parents or whatever wound that they had. And they're just replaying a lot of their stuff. So it's like, oh, it's not even my fault because it was given by my mother and they never got to talk about it with their mother. So really, why should I get the preference of hearing a discussion about it?
And also, I think in former generations, like our parents, like they didn't have, they had that more of that obedience, I think. So it's like they would never call their parents out on the dysfunction.
Absolutely. But now, well, there's so many different variables. There's like millennial kind of stuff where they're entitled and all this kind of stuff. But there's also like we're basically fed up, right? What I said, it's like, okay, I can't keep doing this over and over and over again. So I got to reach out or say something, because really the hardest of all is, how do you have a relationship after that point when you realize that everything's codependent and there's something going on underneath without being able to talk about what's going on underneath? There's really feels like there's no choice but to step back.
Yes. And so
we'll both get retrained to something better, and better boundaries maybe come up. But that's the hardest part that I'm mourning. It's like, can I continue to talk to them at all if this comes up every time?
Well, it seems like you had to kill a version of yourself to jump onto this other paradigm.
Timeline, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had to stop searching for love from my parents or from my mother in that way. And then that same hook or whatever's going on that would constantly pull won't exist there anymore, because it'll be like, okay, I'm not looking for love from you in that old way.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really crystal clear about what I need and what I want. And you have a choice.
Yeah.
Yes or no.
I was doing the same thing, like I didn't even know it, but it was just like a constant need of affirmation, validation, love from them. Like I would always pine for it through my artwork. Love me. Like, look at this perfectionism.
Be recognized.
Yeah, never happened. But then my mom would be like, why aren't you in the newspapers? I'm like, bitch.
Calling you out for you. She wanted you to see you go to a new level before she'd recognize you, because she was loving you and pulling you forward to do better, which only hurt because you didn't see it in the same way.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
And like, moving to New York, they never said, oh, we're so proud of you. And that's all I wanted to hear from them. And they're like, that's normal. And I'm like, bitch, like I came here with no plan and I like made this whole thing happen. Like all I want is an acknowledgement. But to them, they're like, no.
Well, for a young woman, that's a pretty big thing, all the way across. Literally, it's the diagonal opposite of the country, all by yourself, trying to figure things out, have a job, get an apartment in a place that's not known for lack of crime or other
things.
and you did it.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Because we need that from our friends. We need that from someone.
Yes.
Yeah. But we're asking for it through our parents, but we didn't say that we needed it.
Yeah.
So really that's codependency as well.
Yeah.
And all you needed was that little piece of validation, and it might have sent you over the top in your job.
Yeah.
But we never asked for it. We never said we needed it. So
Yeah.
whose fault is it? There's not really any fault, but that's the codependent bullshit of families, where nobody talks about what they need or what they want or what they're seeking for. They just kind of ask for it underneath, and then they get really mad when it doesn't come.
I'm gonna ask you this.
Sure.
So you had shared with us like this wonderful outline of like this new way of partnerships between lovers, and I thought that was so brilliant. And I think there needs to be the same type of approach with families. Like, what is there anything that would come into your mind of like how that would be handled?
Well, I'm living through it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I told you a little bit about my human design the other day, but my human design is to perfect all these processes by living them and hitting every step on the way down. There's a number 3 in my human design and a number 6. And the 3 is like banging into stuff and getting hurt and wounds and all this kind of stuff. And then the 6 is like the perfection of leading it and showing the last 50. Well, so the first 20 years of your life is basically about banging into stuff and having lots of trouble. And then from 20 to 50 is sitting on the roof, kind of observing and witnessing and kind of undoing all the shit. And then 50 plus, all of a sudden you start to go into, you literally get to choose your own individuality. It's not a program thing anymore. It's kind of like Dharma. And you start leading by example of all the things that you learned. So you perfected a way of ease and grace into life. So I can only speak to the first step because I'm in it right now. It's uncovering that there is a codependency underneath. And I'm hoping by speaking of this, it's not meant to shame or blame or anything my parents. It's to give an example of somebody that's going through it really, really viscerally, for people to see, okay, I've got those same things happen in my life. And there's something off. I've always known there's something off. Well, here's what it is. They've got to witness it from both Anya and Paul, and they're choosing. So once you can become aware of it, you start to become aware of where your boundaries are soft. And I'm finding that the boundary is soft to receive this version of love that I created in my head before I even came, of a mother should feel safe and a mother should feel peaceful and her love should be just like all encompassing and hallelujah kind of thing. But most people are finding love from their parents has a lot of their wounds in it. And I have love with my wounds in it, and then pass them on to my kids. And we're all doing it. It's not bad, but to not have a conversation or pretend it doesn't exist creates the opportunity for codependence.
Yeah.
So the first is shining light on that. Well, first is making awareness that it's even there. Because I would conjecture anybody that's been brought up in North America, well, anywhere in the world mostly, has all these societal rules and all this codependence going on underneath of stuff that shouldn't happen, or dirty little secrets in the family that's hiding. And then just shining love back. Like I said, fuck you or whatever at the end of all of this kind of stuff is it was a punctuation point of I'm fed up and this can't continue. And all I said the whole time was, I'm loving you and here's what I'm feeling and this is what's going on. And then really getting to the point of choosing yourself. Because most kids have been trained to choose their parents or please them or whatever to get that love or that affection in the way that we're hoping for. And once you start choosing yourself, then FU is kind of like punctuation point. We're stopping right here and right now, and I'm choosing me because there was no win any other way. And then what comes after that, I think, is a healing. Yeah. It's like before we'll re-engage, there's going to be some very firm boundaries set up about how we're going to talk. And then I'm going to have to just be really conscious, which is something I don't even want to do, of sitting through a conversation where I'm going to have to unwind all this kind of stuff. But I think the universe starts to unwind some of it, and then it's just going to be crystal clear anytime there's some other energy present. And hopefully that'll make them feel safe, and I can then feel safe in myself, and then some deeper healing will occur. But until you get that darkness out of there that's all mixed in, it's just for strife and to keep everybody at each other's throats and all that kind of stuff. That's not family. That's just the darkness that came in through societal conditioning and other things. When you have those wounds and they haven't been dealt with, there's darkness in there. I don't think it's even chosen by the people that participated. It just happened and it got in. And that darkness can only exist as long as it's hidden in shadow, and no discussion will keep it safe.
Yeah.
So it's going to claw at anything that tries to stop its safety, and it's going to come out in really nasty ways that maybe aren't even meant.
And it's grown so much, and to have it have its growth compromised is like the most lethal thing for it.
But it has no choice. The whole realm of darkness is imploding right now, and it's screaming and squirreling and trying to stop, because the whole underpinning of the world, that's what the white hats supposedly are doing, is getting rid of all the darkness underneath and exposing it before they open up. But it's just as much in our family relationships as anything.
Yeah, man, even as a church. There's a book by Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. It was the more tucked away because of the title.
I think I've read that book, actually.
Yeah,
the one where the guy has a conversation with the devil, and the devil's saying, here's how I get in, and here's what I do to you. Yeah,
exactly.
I've read that book.
That shit is crazy. That's what this conversation is kind of reminding me about, of how it just like creeps in.
Well, it wanted to have the fullest experience of darkness, and the fullest experience of darkness is to go all the way to creating hell in the streets everywhere. And when you look at that level of codependence, that's literally hell, because you're trying to please without even knowing why you're trying to please. And there's this constant push pull of pain and suffering that feeds, and we call it love. There's a level of love in there, but it got mangled up. I don't know how else to describe it. Darkness just wants to be free and expand to the maximum amount of darkness. If you don't have the light, or it's engineered out of by control in society, that's the only way darkness is going to overwhelm. Otherwise, there's going to be a natural balance, and the world's trying to come back to the natural balance. Because I literally feel about 5 years ago, darkness knew that it had won, and it had to step away, or else nothing could exist anymore. In one more generation, the world would have been fully enslaved and fully, I don't even think the number of children that are coming out of people anymore. They're just too scared or feeling uncomfortable about sexuality to even have kids anymore. So population's dropping.
Right, but that's what they want, like the government leader elite
and stuff like that.
Yeah, they wanted the less.
Yeah,
but that's fine too. Like, I get it.
But it's the full experience of being a creator. There's nothing bad in exploring your dark side for a while, as long as you're not killing people or whatever. But people do, and there's nothing wrong with exploring your light side. But I really feel most people are good in general. So they're mostly in their light. They're really leaned over, and they're trying to be good people and all this kind of stuff. And then there's darkness festering inside of them, and they're caging it off to one side to say, I can't be that. I'm not going to be like my parents or my family or whatever, and carry that through. But until you get your full light, and then you look in your shadow, and you slay those dragons down there that are wanting to do bad things, and you get in touch with your rage, because that's your power. And once you can be fully in your rage and fully in your light at the same time, you find the middle. You're not tilted any way And that's starting to be enlightenment. Awareness is I can sit in my full rage and be really, really angry and project and power, but I can sing with the angels and be really bright and shiny as well. And I'll tell you right now, until you got that relationship with your rage, especially for a man, women don't feel safe with you, because you're
Yeah.
an exploded time bomb just waiting to go off when your rage pops out of its cage all angry. And women are the same way in a different facet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they'll just rail on you all of a sudden for no reason, and it's like a tea kettle just like you better not. And men, that terrifies them as well.
Fuck yeah.
So women get beat or whatever, and that's the societal way of supposedly letting it go, but it's not good for anyone.
Yeah.
So
Oh man, what an interesting time.
do you want to move on to some of our other topics, or is there anything more on this one?
Yeah.
You had one around career.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I
dive in.
Googled, I don't even know if I got the answer I was looking for, but I seriously Googled career life after spiritual awakening.
Cool.
Because I'm very curious. Like, what do you do? Like, I get it. Like, some people become healers or, like, have ayahuasca ceremonies for people or, coaches and shit like that, or start podcasts. That's fine. I get that. But not everyone that's been spiritually awakened falls into those categories. So I'm just curious, what does one do after they spiritually awaken? And, like, do you go back to a 9 to 5 with like a presence and an enlightened state, or what the fuck?
I would honestly say that those people that have decided to be healers or are marketing themselves as a coach and stuff like that are still in a wounded state.
Yeah.
They're chasing money and they're
Yeah.
chasing funnels and clients and trying to be a guru or a leader. And they're not fully in the light yet, because really there is no struggle. There is no chase. There is no label that you have to put on yourself when you're fully in that more awakened, enlightened state.
Yeah.
What drives you then is passion,
Mm-hmm.
creativity, what your heart's desire is, rather than chasing a title or clients or getting people to like you on Facebook or whatever. If any of those things are pulling, it just means that we still have some outward orientation of who we are.
Yeah. But my question is, like, how does one like live? Like, we still have to do the human 3D things, like pay for rent, pay the bills, money is still in the equation. Like, I'm all for doing what you love, but
So underneath that, just look at what you just said is a chase for money, because money by society is the way you can live and way you have freedom and you have all these other things. But is that really true based on some of your latest understanding?
No.
So unfortunately, guys like dad and mom and stuff are constantly poking you because you're living in their house.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way out that they can see, and the label they're trying to stick on your forehead, is go get a fucking job so that you can move out and you can have your freedom, or we can have our freedom, or whatever, because we're all deeply in the belief that money is the key. But you're seeing that's the disparity. What does money create in you?
Like, so, like attention, almost, in a sense. There's still attention present. Like, I'll be grateful and I'm like trusting, but then at the same time I'm like, tension, hello.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying tension, like a tightness in your body and a
Yeah.
struggle.
Yeah.
So you're fighting against the concept that doesn't align with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know some people that are artists and creatives and somehow they found a way maybe to live in a collective or some version of, so they don't have to work a lot?
I know artists that are successful in their career, who have made artistry into a career, doing what they love, but I don't know.
So do you think you can make the art that people will love until you fully love yourself and you've come to alignment with who you are?
Ooh, yeah.
So you're chasing, you're kind of prostituting yourself to get a job, but
Yes.
at the same time you're not really loving yourself completely because you're going to do this thing that's going to make you like tight all day long, and I got to go to the job and run and chase. So are you truly free yet?
No.
So
Free.
money's around your ankle.
Yeah.
Your perversion to do things against your will to get money is around your ankle. Not everyone's going to understand this. They're going to say, oh, geez, you're a bunch of hippies and what the hell's wrong with you or whatever. But do you think if you have a higher self and it's part of God, that it would ever make you struggle to do what you love?
No.
Okay. So there's baseline. So how does that change your choices? Does that feel right in your heart?
Yes.
Okay. So who's holding you back? Because you took on these fucking labels and societal conditions that's the only way you can be happy and safe. But we forgot we were a part of God.
Yes.
So what do you have to shift in your mind to be able to get back to be part of God?
Allowance.
And do you think there's any choice when you're part of God? Or chase, sorry, is the word I was going to say.
No.
Because we've been chasing our whole entire life.
All our
Dream
lives.
lover, money, jobs,
Yes.
cars, houses.
Oh, yes.
So money creates the chase. Money's just a tool.
It's an energy.
It's an energy. It's a tool for saying, okay, I'm giving you something of what I see at value X for X
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah.
So what's your passion? What's the thing that's pulling on you all the time?
My creativity. The
Okay.
painting, making clothes, like working with friends.
So what's holding you back from all of those things?
No, I'm doing all of those things.
Well, you're doing, but it's not flourishing into something that's gonna be your passion yet. You're sticking your feet in the water, but there's this other question that's pulling you
I
back.
think it's the parental programming.
Absolutely. So are you ever going to feel safe being with your friends and going out for tea and coffee and stuff like that if your parents are constantly watching over and saying, oh, she's not getting a job? How did you afford that? And whatever. What's your bank account balance? They're loving you and they want to feel safe. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. It's like this shame.
Mm-hmm.
And like, everyone in my family is engineer, doctor, lawyer. Oh, Anya doesn't have a job. Oh.
So what's the set point that you need to meet before your parents completely feel safe that you got to handle?
I don't know what that means.
So what do you have to meet to have your parents stop worrying about you?
Have a job where I can pay for my own apartment and healthcare.
Mm-hmm. And there's probably maybe a man in there for safety or something, and get married by 30 and have kids.
A Russian Jewish.
Yeah. But that's in there too, right? Because you got to propagate the name or the species and give some grandkids, and there's a whole bunch of expectations that mix in there.
But that's what I think we spoke about this like 2 episodes ago, where my mom was like, all I want is for you to have an apartment where you can pay your bills with a job. I was like, cool.
But did you have that in New York before COVID?
That's what I was doing.
Okay. Yeah. So did you meet that set point?
I met that set point, but it was never good enough. Did they relax
back? It still wasn't good enough. What else was there?
I mean,
sorry.
No, you're fine. I was doing it, but it was like it's never qualified to there because I was in New York and they were worried about me.
Okay, so there's some variables. Be close by so he can attach you or visit you, and you don't feel unsafe because of the crime or whatever, right?
Yeah, shit. I don't know, shit like that. Look, they can't control me. Mm-hmm. I'm not.
So were they purposely trying to hurt you?
No.
So they were doing the best from what they knew of love to try and protect you because they can't be there all the time and mollycoddle you
Yes.
like a child.
That, you know, I think with any parent, like they just want to know that their child will be able to survive without them being
Mhm.
in the world.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And that means money, dollars in the bank account, a wife or a
exactly.
husband, a house, a car, a mortgage,
An
whatever.
insurance plan.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't have to pay $100,000 bill to give you heart surgery or something because you fell down on a nail or something, right?
Yeah. But these days you need a COVID vaccine or else you won't be allowed.
Or even, okay. So your codependence with your parents, as much as all these other things, are they holding you back? And it's insidious, it's underneath, and it's like,
It
oh, a good
is.
girl does this and pleasing and all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
So can you really be fully spiritual until you've taken this unfortunate step of cleaning up the into codependent mess?
Oh man, yeah.
So can you be happy in a job? Can you be in your passion with all those pulls all the time?
No, I mean, a part of me is like, you should just write what you want, like write it out, like the hours, the freedoms, the people, the environment. So
Mhm.
all of that.
And make it so that you receive from the universe, and abundance is
Yes.
coming constantly.
Yes.
And it's, you gotta throw the fucking 3D world out of the mix because
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna should and coulda, woulda yourself in the head over time. It's like, oh, I got a huge tax return, but I didn't pay taxes last year, but still they sent me a $10,000 check and that pays
Fuck
for half
yeah.
my year. Oh,
Yeah.
I have an uncle that I didn't even know, or somebody from
Yeah.
way back when all of a sudden gives you
Yeah.
$100,000 or whatever. That happens to people. But in our reality, it hasn't happened before. So we've turned off all possibility of all these ways that money
Yes.
could come with us to us.
Well, let me ask you. So, like, where's your stance? You know, because we're going through this awakening together, and you've fucking been in the 9 to 5 world for a long time. So, like, where are you at with that?
I had to learn to go with the flow.
Yeah.
My path is exploring
Mm-hmm.
all the time and having to go deep, like debilitating deep. Like I couldn't have had a 9 to 5 job and dealt with all this shit that I'm
No.
today. So there was a point just before I got divorced, I was running my own business, doing IT work for people. And I'd say from now on, the first hour and a half in the morning after 8 o'clock and the kids are out the door, I'm going for a bike ride and I'm going to go
Yeah.
meditate by the lake. And I did that and things improved and money didn't go down. It was kind of cool. So as I was taking more and more time, I've got in the habit of taking more and more time for myself. Now, at some point in all of that kind of stuff, I screwed myself. I started saying, okay, the money coming in isn't adding up to the money that the bills are and all this kind of stuff. And I did the math and I proved it. And then fuck, my world inverted and everything just started going downhill. So that's how powerful the mind is.
Yeah.
I was trusting in God and I was like 20,000 away from paying off my entire mortgage. And within 6 months or a year, we're almost at 100,000 on the mortgage again. And I'm like, what the frick?
How did this happen?
Exactly, because I lost that confidence and allowed the receiving to happen. Then after the divorce happened, it was just the universe kind of was just having its way with me.
Mm-hmm.
Darkness was coming in, money was disappearing. I don't even know where all the money went. I got $180,000 from my house when it was all split, and within a year and a half, it was gone. And then the darkness was fully engaged. There was lots of stuff coming in and bills, and I almost went bankrupt at one point, and credit cards just started adding up. And then the universe would just, I need money or whatever, and it would find a way, and it would be through a credit card or a line of credit or whatever. And I'm trying to build my business, but no matter what I do, it just feels off. It's like chasing money.
Yeah.
And I'm getting so many tests even from my clients now where they're going sideways, and the few clients that I do have, because well, I easily met the government's requirement of dropping your income by 50% or more. I'd go months where nobody even phones. I made, instead of 120,000 a year in my business, down to 30 with COVID.
Wow.
And so it's like, okay, well, rent payments keep coming, and the bills
Mm-hmm.
show up, and the truck payment, and all this kind of stuff. And I had to choose just the trust, because I was a worrier. I was a man that would pay his credit card off the minute it came in the door. I would always be at net zero with the universe, and the universe fucking pulled me head right past the top and said, okay, well, now you have debt. Lucky you. But debt is not a failure.
Mm-mm.
I needed to live in a world, and I'm holding space to the point when the gifts that I'm giving to the world will be recognized, and they'll pay me back. Like, this is a gift we're giving to the world. We're building up an energetic, I wouldn't say deficit, but a positive that's going to come back to us once the universe can recognize that, because
Mm-hmm.
this information is key and it's vital to people that are on this path. So I have fully stepped into dealing with all this shit as it shows up. I don't bypass it. When it shows up, I dive straight in head first to whatever energetic thing is showing up. And it rewards me huge. And that's what the universe wanted for me. And somehow the bills all add up, some payments show up, or the bank account balance shifts itself, or whatever. And the less I worry about when it's going to hit zero. And I've had some screaming matches with God, because it's really hard. I got to cash in all my retirement savings, and I got to do all these kind of things to get through this point. I would be judged a failure by the universe. But things like retirement savings, I saved all the time I was working. And somehow, with all the bullshit, after 20 years of savings, there was a net zero gain in my retirement savings account. What the fuck is that? Because you're working on compound interest, and you got to get 2 million in the bank before you retire, or else you won't have enough, or whatever. But so many things happened to me that said, I've always dreamed since I was a kid that we just have a credit card that would just get automatically paid off. And that was how the world worked. And it wasn't about striving and saving up and chasing or whatever. And that's going to grate on a whole bunch of people, because their whole reality is based on the fact that they've worked really, really hard to get this job and prostituted themselves,
Mm-hmm.
when it was never about that. It was about finding inside yourself. And people are leaving. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands that are leaving 9-to-5 career jobs and going into the spiritual work and working on themselves and talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
and just scraping their knuckles. And I'm not seeing a lot of them getting rich right now, because the energy and the space doesn't have the growing soil for our seed to fully root. So for my advice to you would be, just keep staying in your passion, in your creative. Stay in the incubator where you're sitting right now and doesn't feel good, but it's better than most people have.
Yes, that's true.
And imagine me, it's like, okay, well, I'm having all this strife with my parents or whatever. Well, now I don't have that place to fall back on, or the couch in the basement to sleep on if something fell apart. But I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't ever want that
Mm-hmm.
either. And if I have to go to that level, I'm not trusting myself. I'm not taking that part of God and saying, okay, this is going to work out somehow. I release my arms and I breathe, because I deserve better.
Yeah.
So you deserve better. Breathe when dad and mom come to bring that, or if your bank account's getting low or whatever, breathe to get to the point where, okay, some other way is going to come in. Because you've tried it. You did logos for people, and then they didn't pay you full price. And then all of a sudden you're feeling like undervalued.
No, well, that's when the God sweeps through and gives me $500 for Larry, the dog,
Exactly. So
as a dog is barking.
yeah. So what's your pull now? And do you see why the other way felt like there is, what's a career even?
Fuck if I know. I mean, to me, it's a career is providing a service to others. That is what a
To
career
please others or
No,
please you?
no. To provide, like, I love to, whatever I love doing, but it's like providing a service at the same time for other people, you know.
So does the word career do that function, a service?
Huh?
Okay, so career
Yeah.
has got all this shit attached to it,
Yes.
right?
Yes, it does.
So are you doing a service or disservice to yourself by calling your job or your path a career?
Yes, I am.
How many paths could you possibly have over a lifetime? Is it one, like the world expects? Become a judge, become a lawyer, become an engineer?
It's
You
more
get
than
tired of
that.
them really quick.
Yeah.
You perfect that. At least that's the way I work. I perfect something in about a year or two, and then it has no interest to me. So I either take an advancement or I got to leave there.
Mm-hmm.
So were you meant to be one thing for the entire life? Or
No.
here's my biggest post-this note of them all. I'm an engineer. I had to let that go. I don't even wear the engineering ring anymore because it labeled me too hard.
Yeah.
So do you want to just be an artist?
Yeah.
Just? So who's letting you down in becoming an artist?
No one.
No, but you're choosing, okay, I gotta have a job where I can
Yeah.
express fashion to be a fashionista or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
There is no job that's a painter unless you're painting windows or something in a restaurant or whatever. What's that thing that you want? So what's the outlet? Well, you got canvases, you got paints, you got all these kind of things. What keeps you from being creative each day?
I do create each day. I'm painting the paintings.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that wasn't enough for your mother.
No. Oh, my mother doesn't even understand. Unless it's like you know, the shit from you know, like classical paintings and shit like that, or like paysages.
And those guys don't even get recognized until after they're dead most of the time.
Exactly.
So is that what you're striving for?
Exactly. But my mom was, why can't you paint something beautiful? Like, she doesn't, why are you painting these words?
A lot of people don't even recognize them until afterwards.
Profit is never known in their own
So
land.
were they rich in their lifetime? Those were some of the poorest people that just are living off of benefactors and
That's true. Oh, I need to find a benefactor.
There's one. I know a lady that she says the last 3 years of her life she found benefactors.
Really?
And it worked out. So
Interesting.
guess what? There's a possibility.
There we go. We just opened up a new portal.
Benefactor.
Benefactor or sugar daddy?
Oh, that other one. There's a whole bunch of energy. Do you want to explore?
God, no, I don't want to sugar daddy. That's too much. It's too much. That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
no, I just, you know, it's just interest. Like, I agree with you as well. Like, as we were going through the thick of this, like, there's no way we could have held down a 9-to-5 job and functioned. No way.
But there are people that are doing it.
Yeah.
The one thing that I notice about going to work while I'm going through this, because I work with clients, is it gives a distraction to the energy. Where if I'm sitting here laying at home in bed, my body might be aching, the energy will be flowing differently than working at the same time. It just gives a flow, and that movement of the body and stuff like that will help process the energy quicker.
Yeah.
So 9 to 5 isn't bad, but you have no choice when and where. If you got to cry, you got to wait that shit out until 9 p.m. at night once the kids are in bed and you've had supper, and I don't want that.
Gosh. Yeah. And I think with this thing, the shutdown, it like really for at least for me, like I had to accept that just because I'm not constantly doing doesn't make me less than.
How much are you doing for the collective in every moment in comparison to most people?
A lot.
Most people are serving a bunch of people at a bank or a restaurant or a store, and they're doing their service in the best way that they know how, but they're so busy. That's why I call business busyness.
Yeah.
Because it just makes you flutter around and do a whole bunch of stuff and never have any time for you. if you're a waitress or whatever, how much time do you have? It's like, oh shit, I gotta go get water for that table, and I gotta go this and clean up the spilt milk on the floor.
Busyness.
You're just chasing to please. And
That's what
that's
we
to
were
meet your
taught.
boss's expectation, to get a tip, to get all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Is that allowing you any time for yourself?
No.
So look at the gift you've given yourself. How many of your friends do you think went straight to keep doing fashion stuff and are chasing hard?
They're all chasing.
And they're how many people are doing anything other than barely making ends meet?
Yeah.
Most people in this world are one paycheck away from bankruptcy.
Yes. That's
because
what
you're chasing a system. Go ahead.
I was just going to say. That's what a job is. Just over broke.
Yep. And that's designed that way. Make a whole bunch of people a bunch of money up above you.
Yeah.
Look at the prices that they charge on some of this stuff, like triple, 3 times. If it's Jordache or Calvin Klein or whatever, you can put a 3 times number on the sticker compared to just
lots
because
of
you
markups.
put the label on.
Yeah.
And it came out of the same freaking factory as Kirkland's signature.
It came out of the same factory as the fucking Chinese virus. Let's be real.
Well, some version of that, right? So one day soon, Anya's just going to keep choosing herself. And she's going to see there's a value in that. Can you see how the labels that your parents put on you and the world around you put on you keep you from stepping fully into your power?
Yes.
Yeah, are you bad for it?
No.
You're just learning.
Just learning.
And the whole world's going to teach you to stop being in your power because that's too light and you're too much
scary.
And you're whatever. And then one day you're just going to choose it and say, and then all of a sudden you're going to be like, why the fuck didn't I do this a year ago?
Sooner.
3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Divine timing though.
So just always remember you're a part of God. And the only thing keeping you from having money and all those kind of things is your performance or participation in the world.
Yeah, like that attachment of this is how it should be. Like, well, my sister said some crazy shit to me. She's like, how are you gonna meet anyone in New York if you don't move there and have a job and blah 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 blah? So it's like her mind is like that poisoned linear thing that XYZ has to happen. But it's like, no, A can happen and then X can happen without even doing anything. So it's just like that conditioning that
Well, don't listen to that because that's a mind virus that'll make it impossible.
Yeah, shit is poison.
Well, guess what? You got to have money beforehand so you can go get an apartment and live there for a month and then find a job. And hopefully it's within a month or else you're in fear. And
yes. I think our family members should live on an island, like until they awaken. Then they can come back.
It's not something you can jump out of overnight, and people will hate you for being that or living off credit or whatever, because that's bad. But
on the fringe,
you're on the fringe. I could could fucking care less what people think of me or whatever. I'm getting happy and I'm finding
you're free.
All this stuff. I'm free.
Yeah, man.
And once I fully get into my freedom, then my godness comes in, and then that money starts to show up. And it's not about being rich. It's not about being like freaking. Well, sometimes rich is just like a virus or whatever, right? You're just like fucking buy everything, and you're filling your house, and you don't even have a place to live or whatever.
Yeah.
No, this is about getting free, having comfort. I buy stuff still. It's like, oh, I need that or whatever. It helps the microphone helps my audio and doing things because that's my learning. That's my expanding myself. That's my trying out new things and figuring out what works and what doesn't work and how to put things together, right?
Yeah.
So, but if we live in lack all the time, guess what? Are we really living?
Oh man, it goes
I can't have that until I have money. I can't be free. I can't go on a vacation.
Be happy.
I can't. Yep.
We're always chasing, oh, I'll be happy when this happens.
And we don't even know what that
is.
Yep.
Exactly. Instead of here, right now.
Yeah.
One choice.
Absolutely. And who's the one that did that to ourselves? It's us, but we believed a whole bunch of
Society.
bullshit from
Yeah.
everybody else. 'Cause
Brainwash.
they're living in it, and if you switch that, you'd fuck up their whole reality.
Exactly.
Did you do anything wrong? No, you actually towed in to lack. How else to call it? I don't know.
Mhm.
But it's like, okay, their lack is part of my life now because I might make them feel uncomfortable that I had.
Mhm.
What? That's the root of all evil.
Mhm.
Money's supposed to be that, but no, everybody trying to be the same, I think, is the root of all evil.
Yes. Conformity.
Compliance. Yeah.
Compliance. Like,
You want everybody to have black shirts and pink blue jeans, and that's all there was on the shelf. And how would that make your fashion sense go?
oh God, no.
Yeah.
Oh geez, what a puzzle we're in.
But we're choosing different.
Yes.
That's awareness. That's enlightenment. That's
Love.
being aware that there's other options so that you can create. We are here as conscious creators to make something new that's different from everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not, or we're feeling stifled in that, do you get to make something new as a waitress at Denny's?
No.
Probably not. Here's the menu. Here's where the plates go. Here's where the clients go. You don't. Even in your fashion design job, you were structured by a leader. You'd maybe come up with ideas, but it had to go through the boss, and the boss would basically put their tint on it. And was
There's
it really even
always a
yours?
tint. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, that's something I've been learning for myself is collaboration, where like when you work in a collaborative environment, it's never it's not the Anya show,
Mhm.
you know.
The hardest thing that I ever did in corporate Canada
Yeah.
was to have a really good idea, take it up to your boss, and then they either kiboshed it because it wasn't in their agenda,
Yeah.
or they took it as their own and twisted it
Warped it.
to make it something that was impure, not efficient, but met with their agenda so that
Mm-hmm.
they could put their name on it.
That's probably even worse when they
That's the
just
perversion in like my creation
yes.
was now taken by somebody else. They got the credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
And
they ruined it on top of it.
yeah. And the whole thing was putrefied. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't what it could be. The pure
The purity lost. It got lost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you felt that, I'm sure.
Oh gosh.
Mm.
Yeah.
But the next role that Anya's going to have is something that is in her passion and excites her and is visceral in her body. And it's going to be like, fuck, this is play, I think, not job.
Mm-hmm.
So choose it. Who told you it couldn't be?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, oh, that would be too fun or too whatever, too.
Jobs aren't supposed to be fun.
No, it's supposed to be something that you grind at your whole entire life, and hopefully you survive to the end and didn't die.
Exactly.
And then you have 5 years of retirement where you're trying to use up all your retirement money, but afraid you're using it too fast, and then you die.
Yeah, and then you didn't even see the world or travel.
Mm-hmm. And do you know how many people never got to travel, never that they died within the first year to 2 years after they
retired
because they had no purpose. The whole purpose was in that. Things to keep them busy.
Are you glad? This is a personal question, but are you happy that you had kids?
Most certainly. They are. All I can say is to have children and to be able to go with the family shit that I had and all that kind of stuff, and to sit through raising them. And I'm finally getting to see them coming out. My middle one's in grade 11. My youngest is in grade 9. And my oldest is now out. I can see, I hate to use the word perversions, but the perversions of my lineage in them a little bit. And they're really aware of them now. Like, anyways, I don't have to get into detail, but how I also modified, and then it gives you this briskness of, okay, rubbing my childhood up against how my children's childhood was, I can see how I changed as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave them an environment, fertile environment. My love has always been pure, open-hearted, give me a big hug, kiss on the
Mm-hmm.
cheek, kiss on the head, which is so much more pure than I experienced it.
Wow.
Because I wanted to have a parent. My ex-wife, she loves our kids, but she's Japanese and it's very honor-based
Yeah.
and you just don't have any emotion and all this kind of stuff, which wasn't like big-ass hugs that took your whole body and almost crushed
Mm-hmm.
you in love, which you can absorb into and but I know every single one of my kids asks for a hug all the time. So I know that they see that as an act of physical love. And I'm always saying, I love you. I'm proud of you. I do these things that I didn't get in the way that I wanted it because I know how important they were because they were important to me. So firstly, you get this kind of thing where you're building, I don't want to say little versions of yourself, but you're seeing how you perfected yourself through your life experience and how they turned out as good kids that were normalized, unfortunately, into society or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but they made it through high school and they're trying to have relationships and stuff like that. You're seeing how it's very different. Like my oldest son doesn't even want to date girls because they're not direct and they don't know what they want and all this kind of stuff. But he got to make those choices all by himself. It wasn't like me where I had this wound. I don't know how much of why he's not dating women. Maybe he's still my wound.
Mm-hmm.
But I now, it's broadened me. My life would have been so inner focused about me and fixing me or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, where the kids I can now experience and spread out a little bit and start to figure out what really worked, what was really important, all those kind of things. You don't get that in a singular life. You got to remember, there's like me and then 3 kids that need money, need to be fed, need to have a bed, need to have clothes, need to have whatever, and then the nurturing and all that kind of stuff. But love is not the smothering kind of love. Like my kids play a lot of video games. That's socially what is normal right now.
Yeah.
And I see them at supper, but we got to put structure around supper. Come down when I call you, and we're spending time at supper. You're not rushing off to the game right away. But love isn't like, oh fuck, you can't only do video games for 2 hours because that's rotting your brain and you're not learning and that's bad. Well, when all the other kids are doing it, I'm actually bad for doing the opposite, saying, oh, you can only be loved this way. But I see my kids like thriving in a different way, and rules and structure, like basic ones, like do the dishes, clean up after yourself on the table, where other parents are just so smothering. And it's like, oh, you got to go to hockey and soccer and do all this kind of stuff because I want you to be a hockey star and maybe you'll make $1 million or whatever, and I'll live out my fantasy through
Mm-hmm.
you. None of that even came into the picture.
It's like you don't put the same pressure as a lot of other parents where they have all of these activities.
Because it's striving to meet a societal norm.
Right.
I'm just allowing them to be kids.
What they want.
And I'll invest in things that are exciting for them or of interest. But they also, like my son wants a drum set, but he's doing the saxophone. And it's like, I don't think I could stand a drum set in my house. Kind of thing. So, but he said electric guitar. I got him electric guitar, but he hasn't even touched it. So that's kids, right? Well, luckily I bought a cheap $50 one and whatever. But I get to see the next generation and how they're formative at the same time being 50 years old and living through my generation. And you see these little snapshots of difference and how the control and other things have all made them. I can understand why millennials are like that and they're entitled because they have nothing and they need to have something, and they're coming with this energetic feel that they deserve because they've been so held back for so long. And it's not acceptable that it's done in some of the ways that it is, but I can sure see why.
Mm-hmm.
And be aware of that need because the world's mangled up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would recommend it. and 30's nowhere near late. That's when I started. So yeah, your kids will be graduating high school in your 50's, but I'm not retiring anytime soon. I'm not sick. I'm not tired, whatever. I may not be around longer in their life, but I would recommend only get kids into your life when you're starting to understand that your life has some meaning, and it's not just like some women will have a kid so that they have company
For the
or
sake of it, or it's like an
exactly
obligation or
and
whatever.
meet the grandkids requirement, or this is puts me in the mummies group or
Yeah.
whatever. Sometimes it's that. I don't think the man always gets to choose when a baby
No.
happens, kind of thing. So,
No, he doesn't.
and it just makes for a bunch of responsibilities. Now I got to have medical care and I got to have a good job, or else what if the baby gets sick, or I got to take the wife
I
to the
gotta be
hospital.
available
Yeah. To have the baby, it's 10
emotionally.
grand at the hospital. If I don't have a health plan, I
Holy
can't even
shit.
afford that, right?
Jeez.
It's not like something you can just do in your backseat of your car, unless you're on the freeway trying to get to the hospital.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
so
Well, thank you. This was a great episode.
it was. I'm just feeling heavy. I'm gonna go.
You feel better, I think.
Well, oh, you definitely perked me up or whatever, but now I got to go back and sit with the rest of the stuff that's percolating in the background there, and it's
That's
all good.
okay.
But if I don't, it's just gonna show up worse later. So it's gonna be so meditative to go rake the compost and shit into my lawn. It is so brain dead, and just let it go, right?
Yeah. Let it burn, let it burn.
Exactly. And I'll see the truth afterwards, and I'll know that I did the right thing and a whole bunch of stuff, but it just doesn't feel, when there's this much expressed energy, this much anger, this much crying, trauma, all that kind of stuff, that there's a good result. But I gotta let that go, because 50 years of shit, I thought I'd let it go many, 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 many times. Now it's at a new level. So
yeah.
So keep breathing, keep
Keep
smiling.
breathing, keep smiling.
It's not all fun. There's a lot of pain and struggle in 3D love, all so that we can get to 5D love, where it's going to be a lot of play and frolic and still some suffering and pain on occasion, but it's not revolving around that as a key. You listen to modern music and stuff like that, and there's so much like the pain and the suffering and the struggle, and there's nothing without it, and all that kind of stuff. And I think 3D reality is that. It's got to be about a bunch of wounds and struggle at deep levels, so that you really recognize what you're gaining or striving for. So it becomes this weird codependent, there's the word again, or whatever, struggle game.
Well, that's what we're here for.
And we're getting better every day.
Yes.
And by diving deep, we're getting new truth. And I hope these things are helping people, and we go really deep. I'm surprised. I welcome people to send it to their friends and stuff like that. I'm surprised that not more views. Well, I'm just looking at the comments. I don't understand a couple of them there. One, Amanda Summer says, she says bitch, ha 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 ha. I'm trying to stop using those words because it's a normal speech of mine. So I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but it's nice to see women use those words in
it is what it is.
Is a way.
That's what it is.
Ian says, glad to hear you were a praising parent closely related to the capacity to grieve. Yeah, we got to praise our kids, because I just grew up where dad was working a lot and mom was kind of in a
emotionally
depression,
unavailable.
And I never felt I got those praises or other things. It was just like, do this, do that, do this. And you're, as a kid, you don't even know what's right or what's wrong or what's nurturing. So, but now we're starting to ask for it.
Let's manifest more views and more impacts for this beautiful channel. It's happened. Thank you.
Let's get some more views, and let's get all the people in, and more people in living your light, and more fun, and just starting to interact with people at deep levels that make them feel better.
Claimed. So done.
Yeah. Done. Perfect.
Thank you.
It is done. So be it, and it is done. Okay, well, we'll tune out until Monday.
333. Yeah.
333. Oh, beautiful. Cool. Well, I honor you and
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna go explore the outside here and get a rake in hand and see what good work I can do. My grass is going to be so beautifully green
Yes.
in another couple weeks. I'm looking forward to it. So
That's what we do the work for.
we do. Yeah, we're gardening of ourselves and our
Yeah.
Put the grass seed underneath and you're going to see a great beautiful green flood of
Fucking pasture.
exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
You too.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Loving you all. Have a great day. Over and out.